What's good, family? This is the Playmaker podcast. I'm your host, Rickey Sullivan, and today I got a special guest. It's been a long time coming. We've been trying to set this up for a minute.
Absolutely.
But I believe in the right time, and this was the right time. So today I have special guest Rickey Sullivan from RJS basketball training. Welcome to the show, bro.
Appreciate you having me, man. It's definitely been a minute. We've been working on putting this together, but, you know, we're moving on God's time. So just to tell you a little bit about me, my name is Rickey Sullivan. Born and raised Trenton, New Jersey, by way of Pemberton, New Jersey. RJS basketball, founded 2007. And since that time, I've been just rolling.
So what made you start it in 2007? Like, what was the vision back then when you said, all right, I'm going to start my own training company?
So to be honest with you, in about 2003, I would go out to my high school basketball game, go see players there, and guys that I, drew an interest in. I go up to them after the game, talk to them, and before you know it, I started working them out. And then every year, things just, progress from there.
And so with that, like, what made you stay consistent with it? Because it's so many trainers, especially now, but back then I don't remember because I was still in high school. But how many trainers was it back then compared to now, and what made you keep going and keep pushing yourself to be the trainer you are today?
Well, when I started, it was very little trainers, but I was, I had my own AAU team.
Okay.
So, when you coaching and, you kind of training as well. But, I remember someone came up to me and they asked me, they was like, what's the difference between coaching and training? At that time, I was like, it's the same. Yeah. But it's really not. When I started thinking about it, I was like, when I was coaching kids, you got to imagine you're trying to play 12 guys at one time, right?
Yeah. And
you start losing relationships because maybe all 12 of them might not really be that good, but you're just trying to piece the team together.
Yeah.
And then when I thought about it, I looked back on things and I said, I wanted to make sure I kept every kid. And once I stepped away from coaching, parents would call me back up and say, hey, my son wants to, he loved the way you work with him. At that time I lost him because I really wasn't playing him.
Right.
You know what I mean? So when I thought about it, coaching and training was I was able to keep every single relationship that I had with every kid that I coached. But when I coached them, I lost them.
Right.
Because they, kids, they're young, playing. They're not playing. They they think you got something against them.
Right.
And that was that moment I realized, like, you know what, this is for me, training.
So let's go back to that coaching aspect. So you said you couldn't play everybody, obviously, and everybody is different, talented is in different ways, but not as talented as others.
Right.
So to put your coaching hat on, how did you navigate with the parents and the players to let them know, even though they probably do know, like, my kid isn't as good as that kid, but how do you navigate through that when you are coaching?
Well, me, I'm just brutally honest. At the end of the day, guess what? Parents know. I told them this is for something for him to latch on to because there's other kids that's better than him. Now when he's at practice, he's working harder than going to play with a B team where he's not getting challenged at all.
Right.
Most of these kids, they face that problem because they'll go through high school never having a hard practice. And then when they get to college, every practice is hard.
Yeah.
So it's easy to score on nobody, this kid that plays JV.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now, when you go to college, you're playing against the same guy that's like you. Every possession down the floor. You got to defend as well as be able to score at the opposing end of the floor. And
they just as talented.
Absolutely.
So back to your training hat. So 2007 you started.
Yep.
We in 2023, about to be 2024.
Right.
So that's about 17, 18 years. What keeps you motivated to keep doing it?
Well, to be honest with you, the bulk of the kids that I started out with, they're all in college right now, and just trying to make sure they continue to progress in their field as trying to become pros. So, over the last 3.5 years, I've taken myself to the next level as far as, putting my career around pros and being able to know what it's like to, work with them guys and then be able to translate the guys that I have in college and prepare them for that next level.
Right. So what's your process when training and developing these players? You're talking about the college and the pros now, but let's take it back real quick to, like, I don't know if you have elementary, but middle school, high school, what's your process of training them to be the best that they can be and make it to the next level, whether that's D1, D2, D3?
Correct. So initially, you know, when I first started with, like I said, the guys that I have currently that are in college, they were all middle school, elementary guys. And, you know, from the beginning is fundamentals. You know, I took the toolbox and I broke them down. Everything that they thought they did or wanted to do, I said, nah, we're going to start from scratch. So, you know, in just building all those components and, you know, preparing them. And then a lot has to do with guys wanting to be in the gym consistently, Monday through Sunday. You know what I mean? And all those guys are in the gym Monday through Sunday. So that separates, you know, them from the next guy that might want to come in one time a week. Right. So, you know, this is something that Kobe always said. You know, he works out 3 times a day. You get what I'm saying? So you figure 2 hours, that's 6 hours. You know, 7, you know, that's 42 hours in a week. You know what I mean? So somebody that's coming in 1 hour, 2, 3 hours, you can never catch up to me. You know what I mean? You're separating yourself, and that's the thing. I'm teaching my players, we're going to separate ourselves from day one.
And with that mindset, do you separate the workouts, or do you have them all working out together doing the same things?
Not every single one of them. You know, there's different kids. Different strokes for different folks. So, you know, initially at the beginning, we were all in here together. But as I started seeing the difference in each player, then I started, you know, talking to the mom, and I'll say, hey, look, you know, let me pull him to the side, and let's get some one-on-one time. And then, you know, and it just grew. And then that's where, you know, you got your private time, you got your group time, you know, just to, you know, differentiate the two.
And so we spoke about this yesterday when we was texting, but there's a lot of trainers out here nowadays who aren't really developing these players. They just want the clout. They just want to be seen or noticed. What's your take on, like, those, I call them gimmicky trainers, where they just doing it for the wrong reasons? What's your thoughts on that?
I mean, you know, I don't try to step out of my lines.
I feel you.
One thing about me, I don't really worry about nobody else. I'm just focused on me. You know, I'll see, but, you know, I keep my comments to myself.
I feel you.
You know, it's no point for me because I'm in my own lane. You know what I mean? I'm not running no race with nobody. Right. You know what I mean? I'm fighting against myself.
So with that being said, how do you keep going when some kids are not good, but you're trying to develop it? Where did you gain that patience of, like, I have to be patient with this kid. He may be better later instead of right now?
Well, it's a process, you know, and guess what? At the time with me running my business, it was a process for me. No one taught me. I taught myself. You know what I mean? And it's trial and errors with everything. So as I seen progression, I knew, like, okay, it's coming. It's just time, you know. And that same thing, as they grew, I grew. You know what I mean? My business started when I started with them. So as they started to rise, I started to rise. You know what I mean? Everything was done together. Right. So, like, when you see most of my kids, they just not kids I trained. We family. Like, you know what I mean? There's a difference here. You know what I mean? All my kids, they've been with me since they were young. You know what I mean? There's no, I just got this kid a year ago. No, they've been locked in for 10+ years.
So I'm looking down the court. We in the gym right now. I see the kids walking in. And you talked about family. Like, how do these kids interact with each other? Do they want to see each other get better, or is it just me?
To be honest with you, this group here is like, it's my younger generation, except for one. She's been with me for a while. She's in college. She goes to junior college in Texas. Her name is Jalen Van Dunk. But these are, you know, I'm molding them still. You know what I mean? So, but when my other ones come, you already see. They like, you know, we in there bugging just like, you know what I mean? Like, we vibing right here, you know?
So you talked about in March. Well, what do you do in March? I'll let you explain it, because you elevated from 2017 to now. Correct. You elevated by communicating with people, by networking. What's the importance of networking to you as a trainer, and also where has it taken you?
Well, the big thing for me, I think the toughest part is being home in, you know, your own area. A lot of guys don't really like to network a lot. Everybody kind of just like doing their own things. Me, you know, I've always been an out-of-town guy, you know, so, you know, I connected with a great friend of mine. His name's Rob Allen. He's probably one of the, you know, the best trainers out. You know what I mean? And I don't really give too many people you know what I mean? But he's definitely, he knows exactly what he's doing. I just met him off Instagram, and from day one our relationship clicked. You know, some people are meant to meet each other, and I think that me and him We were meant to meet each other. Every end of March, early April, you know, I go out to Atlanta and I do NBA pre-draft workouts, summer workouts, and I also can't forget Drew Hanlon, who's one of the, you know, the top trainers as well. I was in his mentorship program for a couple years. I had the opportunity to go out to LA and work with some of his guys, just assist. Kelly Oubre, Taco Falls, just to name a few guys. But that was an experience in itself. Definitely learned a lot. But, you know, me, I'm a grinder. I'm a hustler. So it only take me a little bit of time just to figure out what needs to be done, and I'm going to make it work.
Okay. So you talked about Drew Hanlon. You talked about Rob Allen, you said?
Rob Allen.
So do you take small things? You said you was in the mentorship program. Right. What did you learn from that program, and how did you apply it to your trainings?
So actually with Drew Hanlon, I was trying to just take a look at the whole overall perspective of RJS basketball. And you know, being in his mentorship program, there was a lot of things that I was already doing. Because like I said, I was self-taught.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I just wanted to be able to put myself against something else to see where I was at. So, and where in his program, where I would probably say that I was struggling at was the area of just not being around enough pros, not being in that circle, not just having that consistency. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I got guys that, you know, if they make it, guess what? I could be him the next day. You know what I mean? But, you know, going to Atlanta really, like, kind of helped me out. You know what I mean? Because the situation was a little more, you know, I would say a little more for me. You know what I mean? Where, you know, I was able to spread my wings a little bit more. You know, I appreciate that with Rob. Just giving me a bigger role. You know what I mean? And sometimes that's all you need. But for what I was given, I'm going to take, you know what I mean? Because, you know, I know the type of work I'm going to put in, you know what I mean? So, and that's how things kind of worked out.
And just to talk about the pros a little bit, you work out pros. I see it on your Instagram. Miles Powell, hometown kid. Z, hometown kid. So what's that like, just training them? It's a different type of training from middle school, high school to like pros where they lock in on what they need to do and they get their work done and they get out. What's that like training these pros?
Well, just to rewind you back just a little bit, I got to shout out, you know, France.
Oh my God,
he was like, you know, my first guy I started working with.
Okay.
And I think he's a real big importance for the growth of me locally with dealing with pros. You know, and then I had Richmond, you know, who was all Trenton Catholic guys. You know, the bulk of my, you know, my clients are a lot of Trenton Catholic people. You know, I was the funnel for South Jersey for Trenton Catholic to get players. You know what I mean? I was pushing all my guys here down in South Jersey to go to Trenton Catholic, which was the premier, you know, basketball program in the area. So, you know, I was working with France. You know, it was kind of something like that was brewing. You know, we'll see each other at Moody Park. You know what I mean? And we giving each other that look, and we like, yeah, it's coming. You know what I mean? And then, you know, after I was down in Atlanta, you know, he reached out, and I said, you know, I'll be back in like a month or so. Let's get to it. And then, you know, Richmond hit me. And, you know, I was working him out somewhere. He was at Trenton Catholic. So that relationship right there, those two guys, you know, that, you know, it took off. And then the situation that came across with Miles is I was doing something for with Drew. And he said, hey, you know, if you guys had the opportunity to come across a pro guy, like, we had to do a 5-minute video. Okay. Just talking about how I would, you know, what I would say if I seen Miles. I never end up sending the video to him. I just sat on it. Yeah. And this past summer, you know, he happened to be coming in the gym while I was working out with a couple of my guys, and, you know, we gave each other that look like, you know, I said to him, it's time. You know what I mean? Because, you know, a lot of guys that, you know, he deals with that's on a professional level, I've worked out during their pre-draft. So if somebody hear you from Jersey and they know somebody from Jersey, what you think they're going to say? Like, yo, you know this guy, Rick? You're like, yeah, I know, you know. So I think that situation kind of happened organically. Right. You know what I mean? We both know some people. You know, people don't want to put people in front of other people, but, you know, that's neither here nor there. But like I said, you know, when I showed him the video and I went back, you know what I mean, I got details like, you know, I used to train your little brother and your little sister. You know what I mean? I work with Jameer, I work with Quay, I work with Trail, I work with Mark, all guys that under your umbrella, you know. wanting to be in your shoes. You know what I mean? So it's like, how can you overlook a guy like that? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know, especially when I come from my hustle. Like, ain't nobody out here out hustling me. This is my life. I don't do nothing else. You know what I mean? I don't go to work for nobody. I work for myself, and I always have since I graduated from college.
Talk your talk. So,
it's all facts.
So what's I know it ups and downs that comes with being your own boss, your own business, have your own business. What's some of the ups and downs that you had to overcome to be where you are now?
I think just with the seasons. Like, you know, when you learn in this business, you know that from January to December, it ain't gonna all be rosy. But I roll with it. You know, that's like that whole line. You know? My life ain't, but I roll with it. You know what I'm saying? So I understand. Like, I know how to channel the falls and ups and downs of this business. You know what I mean? Because guess what? This is all I do. I better know. Right. You know what I mean?
So I know you got to get the train out. I got a couple more questions for you. So what's next for RJS basketball? Like, I know you still training, but anything in the works? Anything we should look out for from any of your players that you have trained over in the past? Are they in college? Where they playing? Let the people know.
Well, for me, like I said, you know, I've been just pursuing, you know, this next level. That's just, you know, getting into the NBA. I want to be a pro player development coach for an NBA team. If that doesn't happen, you know, I don't mind, you know, going into the collegiate ranks and doing player development recruiting as well. So as far as, you know, few guys that I have in college right now, they still, you know, they pushing. I'm hoping, but you know, every day, you know, is a grind. So they got to work. They got to want it. You know what I mean? And I, you know, I go out and to the games, and I'm still seeing what's going to happen. You know, I work with Jameer. You know, he's definitely a guy that he's at Florida State, so he's definitely somebody. A sleeper that's always been, you know, one of, you know, my guys from day one. Latrell, he has the opportunity, but he just has to want it. You know what I mean? He could be a pro. You know what I mean? He just got to go get it. You know? And Marcus just transferred. He's still got 2 years left, I believe. He's getting back to it. So he's another guy that, you know, you definitely going to keep your eyes open, because those guys, you know, they workaholics, you know. And for me, like I said, you know, I got a few girls. I got an up-and-coming girl. She's only in the 6th grade. Her name's Leah Macbeth.
Remember that name.
Leah Macbeth, I promise you. she might be the next Hannah. She might be
doing
the next
big things at Notre Dame.
She's tough. This girl, I just went to her game the other day. She had maybe like 20 points, about 9 steals, 10 assists. And then just, she only in the 6th grade.
All-around player.
All-around player. So, you know, and it's like that. She's in the gym just like one of my college players all the time. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm talking about. Some people think like, you know, hey, can you get my kid better? 30 days? No. No, it don't happen like that. So it's a process, you know, and it's the same thing here. I stress every day. It's a process to get to the top. You know what I mean? They got to
want to get better, too.
Absolutely.
So a couple more questions. So who do you want to see on the Playmaker podcast that you can help me get them on the show? I usually ask that as my last question, but I got a new last question for you. But who would you like to see on the podcast and try to get them on? Help me try to get them on.
Well, you know, I got to keep it home first.
Yeah.
You know, up and coming trainer, Chance Patterson. Very quiet, but he definitely gets to it. I mean, he can get to the kids. I mean, he's definitely up and coming. I told him if he just puts that work in a little bit more, I mean, he has an opportunity, man. Like I really like him. He's hard working. Since he's been working under me for the 4 years, never missed a day of work. Never missed a day of work.
So he on the right track.
He's definitely on the right track. You know, and you know, the biggest thing is anybody that comes in here that I train, he can train. It's not like, oh, I'm not going to let you train. No. Yeah. I want to afford him the same opportunities that I have. You know, and this summer I plan to take him out and be one of the assistants at a pre-draft. Okay. So, but Chance Patterson definitely, you know, the next person I want to see on your show.
It's all about that exposure, man. If you can expose people to certain things, certain people, it elevates their mindset. It elevates what they want to do. Absolutely. Or sometimes it might detract them and push them away and make them realize maybe this is not what I want to do. Right. But it exposes them to what they need to see. So my last question, this is the Playmaker podcast. So my question for you is how are you a playmaker in your everyday life? With your training, how are you a playmaker?
I always know how to put the plays together.
Okay. When
it was time to get to it, I was the person they called.
Simple.
That's a playmaker, right?
That's a playmaker. You
right?
make it happen. Well, you heard it here first from Mr. Rickey Sullivan. He got a lot of big things coming. He's about to go train right now. I took some time away from the kids to do this, but I appreciate you for coming on the show.
I appreciate you giving me the opportunity.
Yes, sir. And I appreciate you. Make sure y'all like, subscribe, comment on our YouTube channel. Follow us on Instagram at the Playmaker Podcast Network. Give them your Instagram.
At runjumpshoot_training.
Y'all going to see it underneath on the video. But I appreciate y'all for continuing to tune in. I will be more consistent. It's just a process. Like my man said, everything is a process. Everything's in God's timing. I'm your host, Reggie Coleman. Peace.